Yeah, Jake's afraid of you, so it's just you and me. We're just pairing up.
Oh my, oh my goodness. Alright, the voice in my head has told me that I fucked up. And by me fucking up, it wasn't actually me. But welcome to MVP Sports, guys. We're happy to have you here. I am your host for today, Soapy Muffins. I'm joined by most of the time we're together, sometimes we're not. My wonderful co-host, Dave Oster.
Up, everybody.
Dave, how are you doing on this wonderful Tuesday?
Wow, I just realized that you can see my takeout bag in the background here. That's pretty great.
Hey, some people may be curious.
I mean, it is a blank brown bag, no names on there, but yeah, still not a great look.
Who knows? You could have been in public drinking for all anyone knows.
I mean,
there we go. I think the bag's a little too big for it, but
yeah.
But I mean, hey, sometimes it just fits the description. But we're not here to talk about day drinking. We're here to talk about some basketball. So before we get too far into it, we are going to get through a little bit of housekeeping. If you want to join one of the best communities on the internet, you certainly can by going to the Twitch chat and typing in !Discord. There you'll get a invitation link to join the Discord. There you can talk about basketball, football, baseball, soccer. I mean, we barely talk about soccer in there, but you can talk about basically anything.
People gamble.
That is true. I think at one point there was a gambling chat. I don't know if it's there anymore. I don't look at it.
I'm sure.
Oh, who knows? It could be there. It could not be. See, is it still there?
Survey says.
Yep, there it is. Sports betting.
Nice.
So there you go. If you guys are looking for some spicy bets, right there for you. If you would like to support us at a monetary value, sorry, for some reason my brain was like, oh yeah, we talking about gambling, and I'm like, I gotta talk about giving us money now.
I mean, that adds up in my mind.
True. Beat the addiction by going to patreon.com/MVPvids. There you can support us at one of four tiers: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. Bronze tier allows you to join into voice calls. Silver, I believe, if I remember correctly, allows you to vote on Wet Boys. Gold, you are allowed to get access to content that is coming out 2 weeks before it goes on to YouTube. And when you become a platinum supporter, you guys can become a sponsor of the show, like our wonderful supporter that we all so love, Pat Hill.
Thank you, Pat.
Want to watch us live for this week only, because we are shortly on the 24th moving completely over to YouTube, but for this last week we will be live on twitch.tv/MVPvids. But like I said, we will be moving to YouTube full time on the 24th. So go to MVP.com, or not MVP.com. God damn it! It was going so good.
The Soap's interviews never disappoint.
Yeah. Go to youtube.com/MVP Sports. There you can catch all the live shows. You can also then catch Wet Boys, where we talk about the dampest of dudes, the soggiest of shooters, and moistest of men. I didn't fuck it up that time.
Nailed it.
And just, any of the old content that we have on there. You can watch Ricky play Five Nights at Freddy's. You can even see really old videos on there where he can't say Spencer Dinwiddie's name. That is still the funniest thing I've seen in a while. But there, also just the past live stream will be up as well. So, Dave, moving into today's topics. Ooh, we got a doozy to talk about. The worst team in California strikes again.
I mean, it's a state full of winners, and yet Sacramento, what the fuck are you doing?
It's for anyone who does not know, Kings fans, this is a therapy session. You can cry it out. You can tell us how you feel. The Kings have decided to bring back their second most winning coach in their franchise's history, Luke Walton. This is just an absolute great signing, Dave. I don't know why anyone would think otherwise.
What has he done to keep his job? He got handed the keys to, hey, this is a team on the upcline, as Ricky would say. And all he's done is slow this shit down to the point where it's just frustrating to watch. And I know we've heard from a lot of Kings fans who have said the same exact thing, because it's just if we're in a situation where we have a young star in Darren Fox, we've got a great shooter in Buddy Hield, we let Bogdanovich walk away because we're fucking stupid. Different problem, different day. They have young talent. The problem is their coach is an absolute fucking buffoon. He's still riding the coattails of 4 years ago 5 years ago, maybe, with his time as an interim head coach for the Warriors on that incredible team where he didn't actually have to coach because he had, 3 all-time NBA caliber players. So I think the only thing we can say we've seen from him in his time as an actual head coach on the Lakers and now over here with the Sacramento Kings is that he is extremely stale with his rotations, that he is stubborn with his offensive schemes, the fact that defense is, I don't want to say it waxes and wanes, game to game, but like there's little consistency on that side of the ball. And I think that the nicest thing you can say is he doesn't try to make his team worse, but I just don't think he makes players better, doesn't put them in position to succeed. It's not just a Luke Walton problem over there, and I want to make that clear from the get-go, but like he doesn't help, Yeah,
I think he's essentially like, I think he stands out mostly as like a focal point of the problem because we've seen when he was on the Lakers, all that absolute fucking talent that is succeeding everywhere else, he couldn't get to be a decent fucking team.
Yeah, if you look at that Lakers previous draft history, damn near every one of them hit. And I mean, we're even talking like you're getting guys later in the draft who are contributing at a pretty high, role player level. So it's hilarious to see basically the AD trade, Randall, D'Lo, like Clarkson, Nance, all of the guys who have cycled through that team in the pre-LeBron era, post wrapping up Kobe era, like they're all kind of thriving elsewhere, and yet that Lakers team during the time with Luke couldn't get their shit together. Probably because he's a terrible coach.
Yeah, and I think it's as well, just even talking about the writing the coattails, I think it's a lot of people do put too much emphasis on that. And it's simply because the fact of, I think a lot of people forget, a lot of times you don't need a great coach to win in the NBA. Like, obviously, it's very nice to have that. But when you have Steph fucking Curry, Klay fucking Thompson, Draymond, and if I remember correctly, was that the team
Kevin Durant
that had, yeah, you have 4 of those fucking guys in your team. If you couldn't coach that team to a win,
Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston,
yeah, like you still basically had, like that was essentially the best iteration of that team with KD. Simply because like you still had like the fucking dynamic duo off the bench, and there still was some depth there.
Yeah,
the fact that people brag that he won games, I'd hope to fucking God you could win a fucking game with that team. I'd be like, if I said, like, I honestly think I could coach that fucking team to a win. I gotta just be like, hey, you guys just do whatever the fuck you gotta do. I'll just sit here and just yell at people.
I mean, a lot of people want to bring up, how much does quality of coaching impact the team? And I think you saying that, yes, you don't have to be the world's best coach to like win, but like when you have that amount of talent on the floor, it's a balancing act. If you don't have proven leaders on the court, guys who have that coaching IQ to them, it's very hard if you're also not, able to be a very tactile person as far as your game plans. You basically have to go get the assistant coaches who can do that for you. You could be a great people motivator, a great locker room guy. Like, there's different aspects to coaching, and no one coach has got like every box ticked, but like there's some really well-rounded coaches out there. And as far as I can tell, Luke Walton just kind of fucking sucks. I think back to like when I think of like bad coaches winning, I think to Ty Lue. That's the most recent example in my mind because I don't really respect him in his basketball knowledge, but I respect his ability to work with players, egos, understanding how to keep a locker room in a really healthy state through a long season, and knowing when to motivate guys and how to get the most out of them in the moment of the game, and make sure you get your role players to play up. Was he a better coach than a lot of the guys that they faced and beat along the way? No. He just had LeBron James on his side. Like that's what that Cavs team was all about, and that would be great if you had a talent like that, like LeBron James on your team. But this is was an extremely young Kings team. They didn't have that guy to be their vocal leader for Luke Walton. They had gone out and made all those weird moves and, grabbed like Kojo and Trevor Ariza and Deadman like in years past. And it was like, okay, we're going to mix in some vets in here and this will, up the average level of our team. But none of those guys were like great tactical kind of like leader kind of guys for how the game was played. You didn't add a Rondo, you didn't add someone like Chris Paul, Kyle Lowry. I think same thing. Guys who are floor raisers and ceiling raisers at the same time. So he had no help on the court, and then his front office. I mean, I don't know if you have a team that dropped the ball more often and more consistently than the Kings. So whole thing's a dumpster fire. But the decision to keep him, it is just like the sign of like, this is why you're going fucking nowhere.
Yeah, and on top of that as well, and correct me if I'm wrong, LeBron's first year in LA, he had Walton as his coach, right?
Correct. That was yeah.
Yeah, and even with that, when LeBron went down, like obviously, LeBron had gotten them to a position of like, okay, essentially, he'd gotten
We'll go back and
like
double check that actually.
I don't remember if that was Jaeger's first year or if that was still like Walton's last year, because I know they basically swapped coaches. Unless I'm just dumb and I just get Jaeger mixed up with everyone else.
They did not switch coaches because Jaeger didn't go to the Lakers to be
I don't know why
coach.
I don't know.
2018 was so the 2018-2019. So
Jaeger was the head coach.
Luke Walton. I mean, he was for the Kings. He got fired as the Kings head coach for being an asshole, which is just the funniest thing in the world because he helped turn the team around. He was the head coach. Yeah, Luke Walton was the coach of the Lakers for one season of LeBron James.
Yeah, and LeBron had gotten that team to the point of like, okay, just hold the fort down while I'm hurt.
And we saw Brandon Ingram thrive because turns out he couldn't play off ball because Luke Walton didn't know how to use him. So you had basically half a year of wasted of Brandon Ingram, one of the young rising star wings in the NBA. Obviously, the Lonzo Ball fucking joke. I mean, that was not knowing how to play Lonzo Ball and LeBron James together. How does that even like? That should be so easy. There's so many moves where he couldn't put talent on his team in the right place.
Yeah, and I think that should be a super huge sign of, like, for instance, someone like Ty Lue thrived with LeBron, but someone like Luke Walton can't get shit done with LeBron.
Yeah.
Like, he literally dropped, like, it literally took LeBron coming back and having to try his damnedest to get them even close.
I think it's a respect thing, too. I think that veterans don't respect Luke Walton because they all kind of know his dad paved the way for him, and he got to ride the coattails of the Warriors into being a coach, basically. Like, I just don't know. I mean, as far as former players goes, yeah, he wasn't like a legendary all-timer, but like still, I think we can all admit that like he's not anyone who people were like, man, remember the time that Luke Walton? No. I literally remember Daniel Tosh ripping on Luke Walton and like the Kobe joke about, being wide open in the corner. Like that's when you say Luke Walton, like I get that joke in my head again. And I think that's part of the problem is if you're not X's and O's guy, you have to be a locker room guy. If you're not a locker room guy and that, then what are you bringing to the table? The answer with Luke Walton is nothing at this point. He slowed down the pace. Like Dave Yeager, the reason he got this Kings team to a successful place was because they played up tempo. They're like, so De'Aaron Fox is the fastest player in the NBA. Maybe we should use that. Like, he's a guy who runs really fast, ball handles well, can attack the rim, high rate. Maybe we should try that, guys. And that worked out really well for them. Played up tempo. Buddy Hield got a bunch of wide open threes. That was the like. I remember that off season because Sean, me, and Ricky all had like this weird like moment of like kind of like the Kings and like what they're doing. Like this could be something. Like this could be the start of something special. But obviously, with moving on from him, like they've gone backwards or they're stuck in the mud.
Yeah, and that's just the one thing that kind of blows my mind with it. Of like, obviously, like everyone knows Dave Yeager's an asshole. But like, he's not an asshole to like the point of just like, oh, holy fuck, I don't want to play for him. Like, obviously, the first impression with him is like, you know what, fuck you. But you kind of get to that point of like we've even seen players talk about Dave Yeager like this of like. It starts off with that like I fucking hate you mentality of each other, and then it's like I get why he's so tough because he understands like that's how you motivate people.
Exactly.
Like, I'm gonna perform, so you shut the hell up and leave me alone.
Yeah.
And the fact that they got rid of him and brought in a coach that isn't willing to get on players about anything doesn't really seem to anywhere he goes run a system that works. Besides that Warriors, and even that's just the Steve Kerr being like, hey, so Literally just let these guys play basketball, and that's our system. While Luke Walton's like, oh, guys, don't worry. We're going to do what the Warriors did. When it's like, no, you kind of have to have a system there with you. Like, obviously, Ty Lue didn't really have a system, but at the same time, that was literally just, oh, hey, LeBron, you kind of know what you're doing. You run the show. I'll just be like, hey, Kyrie, the Earth's not flat, buddy. Like, that's all Ty Lue had to do on that Cavs team. And once we see him on a team of where, like, there's not that player that's like all right, this is how we're running this. Like, you get to the situation of where we've seen with this Kings team, like you mentioned, Jaeger had this team running. Because you have to utilize the fact that, like, one fucking thing Bagley's really good at is dunking and running.
Like, dude, bring up the fact Bagley, where was his playing time his rookie year? This motherfucker, like, hated Marvin Bagley out the gates. And I get it. Should your team have taken someone better with that pick? Yes. Would I be a little angry about it because my front office is Vive Radovic? I can't say his name right now.
Yeah. I know
he is an egotistical person that people are starting to be like,
or something like that.
Yeah. They're being like, well, is it the fact that he's European and he, after the Papa John's incident, basically is just sworn off taking, European players high in the draft? I don't know. It seemed like this was a layup for him. And then they had to have these conspiracy theories defending him, being like, well, he and Luka's dad hated each other and he didn't want to have to, deal with that relationship. So, what's best for the organization? We're going to take the guy who can jump twice. And he can only finish with one hand. I hope that's cool. That seems like a second overall worthy pick, right?
Yeah, and I think there was another thing that came out, obviously. This could just be them trying to, like, hide the reason why they didn't take him. It was something it was like something about, like, they felt that they felt like Luka and De'Aaron Fox played too much of a similar role. And it's like, so you guys are saying you can't run 2 point guards, essentially. But you have two players who play so fucking well off of each other.
Yeah.
That it's like, that'd be as scary as fuck backcourt to guard. It's like, okay, cool. Like, Luka's not the most athletic guy in the world. Here's the fastest fucking player in the NBA.
Who played incredible defense out the gates.
It's like, cool. So I guess we were just like, Bagley has hands.
He jumped real good.
Yeah, he jumped real good. He had one hand.
Yeah, one hand. When he's not hurt, he's not a bad player. But there's no excuse for taking Bagley over Luka. And I think what's funnier is they had Bogdanovic, who was there you go. Bogdanovic was a good player on this team who has balls of steel. He will take final shots, big shots, sinks threes, an efficient shooter. But he was the I can do it all type player and a good extra ball handler to have around. And they didn't choose to keep him around. They chose to keep Buddy Hield. And again, this was like a decision. The funniest part is Luke Walton actually made the right move, took the ego shot to Buddy and was like, bench. You bench Buddy to the bench, Bogdan to the starting lineup. And they started winning games. And they had a way better plus minus with that starting lineup. Like, all the advanced stats were like, man, this was a great move to do. So even when he does good, it didn't even last because they knelt down to Buddy Hield's ego and his contract and went with him over Bogdan, who is thriving with the Hawks and a massive reason to their success this year.
Yeah, and just as a little, a last little kibosh sort of thing on this before we move on to essentially the more fun of the topics besides just shitting on an entire NBA
I can shit on an entire team for the whole time. So it's like, this front office needs to be fired. That's this is probably where you're going. My fix is fire the entire front office. You need to clear house.
Didn't they just recently do that, I think?
Don't care. Fire him again. They decided to keep Luke Walton around. That's wrong. That is how De'Aaron Fox requests a trade in 2 years.
Yeah, and mostly the thing I was going to ask is if they did,
might be next year.
I mean, maybe, dude. Hell, who knows? Maybe it's in the offseason.
This was his 4th year.
Yeah, so, he does have an extension though.
Yeah, he'll get the extension.
And he's locked down. Because I think he already has signed it. I think he's locked down to 2026. So
right, but this is the year. This is everybody does year 5, right?
Yep.
So I'm just saying this is a situation where by keeping Luke Walton, you're hurting your prospects of potentially keeping the one man who is providing hope and faith for this entire shithole of a fucking organization.
Yeah, and mostly just this last kind of question, kind of just coaching speculation of if they did decide to move on from Luke Walton, who would you have liked to see them pursue?
Anyone. Anyone. The easy answer is Bud. Mike Budenholzer is going to get fired this offseason. It's the worst kept secret in NBA because they're not going to make it out of the first round because the Heat are going to beat them. So, like, if you're going to go for coaches, you might as well go for the guy who can win the regular season and elevate talent around a star. And I think if we believe that we have a star in De'Aaron Fox, which I think that he has that capability, given the right system and tools around him, then yeah, you're going to get amazing performances out of this team. They could have some guys in this team right now who will carry over, but I think there's going to be a lot of clean out of this roster over the next 2 years. But I think Bud's the guy who would be excellent for it. I truly believe that that would be like dream heaven for Sacramento fans, is to get a coach like him in there who he might not be good enough to win a championship, but the regular season improvement, he would be the best coach in. Oh, I'm sorry, he would be the second best coach over Luke Walton in win percentage within a year. Like year one, he would already have a better win-loss than him.
Yeah, and just another name I kind of wanted to throw, which I think, if I remember correctly, I don't think he's an assistant coach anywhere. He may be. I honestly don't remember.
Who's that?
Kenny Atkinson.
Ah, yes. Kenny Atkinson would be a great hire. I don't...
Yeah, I don't remember if he's an assistant coach somewhere. Like, I have a weird feeling he is an assistant coach somewhere, but at the same time, I also have absolutely no idea.
I think he's a Clippers assistant coach right now.
Yeah, like, I think taking a shot at him, I think, would be a good idea, because we saw what he did with that Nets team. Obviously, you know, that Nets team had a lot of talent on it. Like, he basically unified that locker room. And the problem with this team right now, we've heard Buddy Hield basically say, fuck this entire organization, I don't want to be here, I'm only here because you guys pay me.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I do think they made the wrong decision keeping Buddy over Bogdan. But, once again...
You can literally track their bad decisions over time, and it's just hilarious. It's one after the other. So yeah. It's depressing. Let's move on to something else. Shane on someone else's day.
So recently, Bleacher Report had released they redrafted the draft. You know, obviously the season has ended. Obviously, one of the rookies, most likely rookie of the year, is playing in a playoff game, and this team's not doing too good. Yeah. It's a little bit of a murder.
It's not very competitive right now.
Yeah, but basically Bleacher Report had redrafted it, and we were going to kind of go over it, give some of our reactions to it. Obviously, their number one pick, they have the Timberwolves taking LaMelo Ball. I think that's basically the consensus at this point.
Yeah, no, I don't see how that would be anything but consensus. He's got the biggest upside out of anyone in this class. He proved his doubters wrong in year one, which is rare for a point guard. And he missed a chunk of time with an injury and then hurried to come back to his team to try to make sure that they would keep a playoff spot. Like, that's honestly, you learned a lot about LaMelo Ball as a person this year, I think.
Yeah. And, obviously there's not, I don't want to say too much, like, to talk about it with it. It's mostly just like, you guys fucked up. Granted, they didn't fuck up too bad with the guy they got, but...
No, unlike Ricky's predictions, which it's still year one, Anthony Edwards might be a little bit better than Anthony Bennett. I don't think Anthony Bennett ever scored 20 points in a game. Anthony Edwards for the end of the year averaged like 25 a game. So, like, it's slightly off, Ricky. I'm sorry, but yeah, Anthony Edwards really found himself. Halfway through the season, they fired their head coach. Again, the change of an attitude that can hit a locker room. Obviously, the story with the T-Wolves this year was the injuries, time away from the team. Cat, D'Lo, and Ant did not play much together. When they did, actually, they were really a formidable group. So I think it's super high upside. This kid doesn't know how to play basketball, and he's scoring just at will. It's not efficient. Let me clarify that. He's scoring at will, but it is not efficient.
Yeah, so then moving on to the second pick, they have the Warriors taking Anthony Edwards. And I just thought I'd pose this question. obviously, I will say, I think number one is locked for Rookie of the Year. I think it is LaMelo. I think it's consensus that he should have gone one. As much as I will admit I'm wrong, I'm still not super far off because Anthony Edwards is still pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
But with this, and I'm mostly doing this just as it's kind of the conversation. Do you think that the argument could have been made, obviously for this redraft, that the Warriors should have taken Tyrese Haliburton instead?
100%, and that would be the Warriors' move almost in my mind. They would go for Haliburton. His level of defense, his basketball IQ, day one, it's just on a different level. I think people were poking too many holes in his shot, but not really putting into consideration the fact that it was just going in. And on the defensive end, holy shit, Go-Go Gadget arms are insane. And he's a perfect pairing. Could you imagine that backcourt of Steph, Haliburton, Clay next year? Ooh,
it'd be nasty.
That is insane, because then you have a top-tier defender in Klay Thompson. You have a top-tier defender in Haliburton. Wiggins, who's been fantastic this year. You got Draymond, who's just insane. This team would be disgusting. Yes, if you did take Ant here, for raw wing scoring heavy prospect, that would be the weirdest, in my head playstyle wise. He's the opposite of what they preach so much. I just don't see his playstyle fitting well. And I guess it's a question of could Steve Kerr have made him a much different player, given the opportunity to play alongside these great talents and under his tutelage? So it does kind of raise that, how much different would it have been? But if we're taking, hey, here's the results of what they kind of were this season, now just kind of, swap it over to this team. Haliburton, I think he does deserve strong consideration to go to the Warriors at 2.
Yeah. And then obviously, 3 Haliburton went there. Basically, just if Haliburton went above, I could see the, I think the Hornets would take Edwards at that point.
Yeah, 100%. I think that Hornets were that team that was going, if Edwards falls, we grab him. Wiseman falls, great, we grab him. If whoever falls, that was their game plan going into the draft, and that would be the same here, because I think that these 3 players have separated themselves into a tier of their own, which is kind of cool. Unfortunately, there's a name missing here that we had heard earlier, but not in the top 3 here now.
Yeah, it's
we'll find him later, later.
We'll find him somewhere down there farther. Now, Dave, we get to your team.
Yes,
I want to get your feelings on them having you guys once again take Pat Williams.
Is it a cop out to take the player who we already took, or is it incredibly rewarding to go, we got it right? But did we? Did we get it right?
I was gonna say there is a name a little bit farther down there, but it's just a little better than him right now.
Well, that's the thing. It's a draft, so these guys don't have to be better forever. Or it's the idea of getting the best fit for the team for their career, not, well, at least part of their career, not year one alone. If we're saying year one, there's no way I'm taking, Isaac Okoro as high as he is. There are a lot of these more developmental guys. I would take the guys who had higher regular season stats this season. But Patrick Williams here, again, I think he has incredible upside. I think he had some of the top wing defense in the NBA. He went up against the best player on the opposite team every night, game in, game out. Do I wish he would shoot the goddamn ball more? Yes. But that's a problem that maybe time will help him develop. Now, if you ask me if I would take Patrick Williams over a point guard by the name of Tyrese Maxey, that would be a great question. Because I think he would be really, really coin flip I think long term, I like what Patrick Williams could be. I think, baby Kawhi, the paw, I love everything about that. But it was so clear how badly we need a point guard. I mean, so very clear that it's should we just take Maxey here and be he's on a great trajectory? I think that, having a point guard on this team who is a true facilitator at times would help out a lot. Gets down in the lane. I don't know. It's tough, but I would still, because LaMelo and Haliburton are both off the board, I would go Patrick here. I think that's the answer on my big board, yeah.
Yeah, because my first thought kind of going into it, I was okay, I get it. Obviously, he showed a lot of upside. My first thought, though, was Man, I'm like the big Deke energy slander, the Bay slander.
No slander here. No slander here. I do love Sadiq Bey, and I think he should be a couple spots higher than he is on this draft board, but I think the defensive versatility and the body of Patrick Williams is just too much for me to pass up on. I get it. Sadiq Bey is a fucking sniper. And his defense was better than I had expected it to translate to the NBA. A lot of people are like, his shot's so slow, he won't get off open looks, all of this bullshit. And all he's done is just be a high rate of fire, 3-point sniper, playing with a bunch of fucking random people on this Pistons team that has flipped over the roster and seemingly hit on every single one of their picks. So, I mean, credit to that Detroit front office. But I think Sadiq Bey probably in this redraft is my number 5, and it's not particularly close.
Yeah. So then, kind of moving on to number 5, they do still have the Caps going with Isaac Okoro. I'm sticking to my staying point. I am staying with it until I'm proven wrong. I probably will be proven wrong that Isaac Okoro is just Stanley Johnson 2.0.
Hey, Stan John had himself a game to end the year, though. He gave you hope.
That is true.
Well, he gave the Raptors hope.
Yeah.
But no, I'm with you. I don't like Okoro yet. I didn't like him because of his lack of a shot. I think that's still a problem, even when he's surrounded by great talent, offensive talent on that team in the Cavs. But I would 110% lock in Sadiq Bey here and laugh myself to the bank.
Yeah, and I will defend myself a little bit with the Isaac Okoro thing. I mostly just say Stan Johnson 2.0 because they remind me of literally the exact same type of player, guys that can play defense, but you don't expect them to do anything on offense. And then obviously this year, Stanley Johnson's like, oh hey, I heard that fat fucking Michigan still shit talking me.
It was one game though. To be fair, he's not had a great year.
I mean, hey, that's still one more game than I thought he'd have.
Fair.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just kind of my thoughts on it. I do think Bey would go here instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of speed it up a little bit, just so top 5, kind of just more in-depth conversations. The Hawks going with Cole Anthony at 6. I'm iffy about this one, and it's not because I think Cole Anthony was really good this year. I mostly just kind of look at it as of could they have taken someone else here?
Yeah, they could have taken Emmanuel Quickly. Because I don't know anyone who would take Cole Anthony over Emmanuel Quickly. Do you?
I think the only reason why is because Cole Anthony has shown he is willing to take that shot if he has to. Because I think it was, and I don't remember what portion of the year it was.
I mean, literally, this last week, he just went off for 30-some. He has that, I got this, the early Kemba, where he would just take over games. Cole Anthony has that aspect to his game.
Yeah, and because I remember it was earlier in the year. I only saw it because it was during a Pistons game. It was Pistons versus Magic. I think it was.
I love the dumpsters.
I'm trying to remember. I think it was Cole Anthony was the only rookie to hit 2 game winners this year.
That's correct.
And he was also one of, I think, only 2 players in the NBA to hit 2 game winners. Granted, the Magic announcers then, when they showed the other person who was Luka, they're like, I'm starting to see some correlation. I'm like, all right, let's slowly fucking roll here.
They're fun sometimes.
We're not going to go that far just yet.
But yeah, I would say that Cole has some big-time moments, and he's not afraid of the shot. Quickly, though, I love Quickly's game, and I think that Maxey, same thing. Maxey should be right there. I might take Maxey over both of them, but because it's the Hawks, I kind of like Quickly a little bit better than Maxey, because I think that, I don't know. No, I take it back. My prio here would be Maxey Quickly, just by a hair. I think Quickly is just criminally underrated because people don't get to see him play for long stretches of the game. He is a short, I'll come off the bench, pop a couple shots, and then I'm back down again. If you look at the season, I was kind of going through this thing last night with Jake, and we were talking about, when you give rookies run, it's always the end of the year kind of situations. So in 30+ minute game time played, who had the best stats, who kind of showed out the most during those moments. And I realized Quickly had 3 games. That was it. 3 games where he played more than 30 minutes. I was like, the fuck? I swear, I've seen him on the court so much, but it's because Thibodeau uses his rotations the way he does. Quickly is highly effective in very short periods of time. But I like the upside of Maxey better. I still think Maxey should go here.
All right. Moving down to 7th, the Detroit Pistons. They still have a stake in City. I have absolutely no problems with this.
Shocked. But he's like number 4 on your big board or 5 on your big board at least.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, hey, dude, look at that steal.
No.
Yeah. Moving down to the Knicks, they do have them still taking Emmanuel quickly. Obviously, pretty simple if he's there. Obviously,
taking quickly at 8. Obi Toppin, not seen here.
Yeah. Well, because I think it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Jake who said, like, if the Knicks did their draft picks backwards, it would have looked so much better.
The same thing. They got Mitch Robb in the 2nd round. It's like, why can they hit on late guys, but their early picks are just shit? I mean, outside of RJ Barrett, who had a phenomenal year this year, his sophomore year was amazing, but, like, it did seem weird that, yeah, their later picks have outplayed their earlier picks often.
So, moving down to the Washington Wizards, at 9, they have Onyeka Okongwu going there. I think it's a good fit, especially because the fact of no one on this team plays fucking defense, so at least get a guy that is going to try if he gets playing time.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I think we haven't seen enough playing time out of him to, warrant him staying as high as he was drafted. I like the guy right below him. I think that Jaden McDaniels would fucking ball out in Washington because it gives them another ball handler. And you would see much less Garrison Matthews on the court, Anytime I can get rid of that, I'm down.
Yeah, and that's just, and obviously... Yeah. Oh, don't worry. I mean, I was about to take the shot of, like, imagine that he's the highest center to go and he's not even the best center in this draft. Because they have a center going a little bit later who played better than him the whole goddamn year. I'm not showing bias or anything with me saying that.
No, you're not wrong.
Totally not at all. And obviously, like, you could run Jaden McDaniels going to 10 to the Suns. I think that fits much better than with, I literally don't even remember who they drafted.
The Suns took Jalen Smith.
Yeah, it's, pretty sure Jalen Smith is not in the first round in this. So, if that's not
he would be in my first round still. They just straight up hated him, and he had a tough break with getting injury into COVID. Never really got the feet rolling, but he finished off the year with a nice game. They literally let him play, I think, 45 out of 48 minutes in the final game. Just basically like, fuck it. You've only gotten he would literally get 1 minute, 2 minute, 45-second, run to finish out games in garbage time. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it was 45 minutes of playing time for you. You don't get to come off the court for the last game of the year. It was a very what the fuck moment. But honestly, he didn't look bad. I mean, he's not. I wish I would have seen it over 30 games, 60 games even. But yeah, I think that he's not falling out of the first round, okay? But he is not being taken at number 10.
Yeah. So now moving into basically 11 through, I think it's 11 through 13 is how they split this up. Okay.
Yeah,
11
late
14.
lotto. It's. Yeah. I'd almost lump it
essentially
whatever.
I think this is the most disrespectful thing they could have done this whole draft.
Fun.
How the fuck do you have Wiseman falling to 11? I get he didn't have the best year. I get it.
The best year? He somehow made Steph Curry look bad. You know how bad at basketball you have to be to make the best scorer potentially of all time. No, that's Kevin Durant. One of the best shooters from 3-point from all time. One of the best offensive players, arguably a top 3 MVP candidate this year. Everything. He is just Steph fucking Curry. That lineup couldn't go positive because James Wiseman was on the court.
Dude, it's knowing the fact that we all know Wiseman has the talent.
Oh,
and just seeing him at 11, that just blows my mind. Granted, he's not the biggest faller in this draft, or at least by Bleacher Report standards, because oh boy, yeah, Jalen Smith fell out of the first round for them. So
yeah, but I mean, Wiseman, he had an atrocious year. He doesn't know how to play basketball, though. That's the problem. You're asking him to screen. You're asking him to know rotations and play smart basketball and what is one of the best offensive systems in the modern day. Dude played 3 games in college where he clowned on a bunch of 6'9" kids playing center. What do you think? He had no offseason, no practice, and then he got hurt. So It was potentially one of the worst rookie seasons. Like, I would take a Ben Simmons, like, let me have an injury and rest for an entire year, even though I don't need it. Or even a Julius Randle where I got hurt day one, game one, a minute into the game. I'll take that over having to watch James Wiseman night in, night out struggle bus.
Ooh, dude, that's...
He needs to learn to play the fucking game.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I'm not
Anthony
denying
Edwards.
that.
You thought Edwards had like bad basketball IQ? Wiseman's giving him a fucking run. Here's the funny thing though. You put Wiseman on one of those dumpster teams. I bet you he's putting up John Collins numbers.
Oh yeah,
Like, he's 20 and 10, dumb shooting. He's taking 6 threes a game, like just absolutely joking on people, and it's a different narrative entirely. I mean,
I
you put him on the Kings, you put him on the T-Wolves, you put him on a team like the Hornets. Oh my god. Yeah, I think that we're all talking 180, like, completely different story.
Yeah, I think it's just Wiseman. I don't want to say he got drafted in the wrong situation, because obviously he still does have room to grow as a player.
Massive ceiling.
It definitely feels like, I kind of wish he went to a bad team so you'd get more run time.
Yes, that's 100%. We talked about that pre-draft, and we're like, yeah, he might be like the second highest upside in the entire draft. But when will he be able to contribute at a high level? Like, if he can't help you win for the next 5 years, is he really the right pick to make when you have a, dynasty team in their second, like, hopefully second wind? That was the word I was looking. Yeah.
Just for some quick hits, we got point guards going back to back. We got Tyrese Maxey and RJ Hampton going back to back.
Can't argue. Both are incredible. I think they have massive upsides. We've seen them both thrive at the end of the year as well. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah. At 14, Dave's favorite team in the NBA, the Boston Celtics, taking the project of the draft. Poku.
Poku would have averaged 4 minutes a game this year if he played for the Boston Celtics.
I mean, that's generous.
Get this shit out of here. I get the idea of a redraft is basically just you're putting together your big board with upside again, and the teams don't actually matter, because that's what they're saying here. But, like, there's no way Poku gets more than 7 minutes a game playing the way he did to start the year. He was a fucking atrocious. He was statistically... He made Brandon Ingram's rookie year look good. I mean, he was just given free run, though. And that's how you get better sometimes, is he just needs to learn the speed, learn the play style, get to know how to use an NBA-sized court and the spacing that was around him in OKC. Like, he thrived because of where he landed and his coach and his teammates. I don't think he would have anywhere close to as successful of a rookie season as he had. And I think his growth would have been stunted because that's all we've seen out of Celtics' young talent outside of their 2 top picks in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
Yeah, that would have been a very rough situation for Poku. But moving into 15 through 20, we got Pistons rookies going back to back. Orlando Magic taking Killian Hayes, and Detroit Pistons once again taking the best end of the draft so far. Isaiah Stewart.
Beef stew.
And beef stew, and he's paired with Hamidou. Like,
great tandem.
Yeah. I actually really like the idea of Killian going here. Like, obviously, in real life, I was fine with Killian going top 10. I thought he would. I still think he has really high upside.
Oh yeah.
And I obviously I don't agree with Retro with the point of I don't think Killian will be the best point guard from this draft, because I definitely think it's LaMelo. And
yeah, I don't
Halliburton.
Yeah.
But I think he has potential to be the best playmaker of the three. And I think and obviously I know some people may view that as, sacrilege. Hey, I'm sticking with it. I will die on that hill, that he's got a chance to be the best playmaker in this draft.
We saw LaMelo Ball throw a 3/4 quarter pass, underhanded. Oop. No one can do that. So don't say he's going to be a better passer than LaMelo. No.
I'm sticking with it.
You shut your dumb mouth.
I'm sticking with it, Dave. I'm fucking sticking with it. We're rolling with it. Yeah, Killian going here at 15. That makes it a really good backcourt with him and Fultz. I think they really complement each other well. And then obviously, the Pistons still taking beef stew. He's shown that he's a defensive presence for this team. as well. Just
I will eat crow on that one. I was wrong about his immediate impact to the NBA. I did not expect him to be able to step in and just body people like he did.
Yeah, it's the only problem is being short is not a fun thing for centers.
It's a slight issue around the rim sometimes.
Yeah, especially when you're going against Miles Bridges. There was that there was that little bit of time span of where I think it was 3 games in a row we got dunked on. And I'm like, someone needs to get Beefs to some fucking perimeter defense. Get this man some help.
No. See, it's a compliment. He is fearless. He's not afraid of the poster. You want someone who will challenge every attack of the basket. I take that as a compliment, Soaps. That's how you should view it.
Oh, yeah, no, I view it as that too, but I'm also like, come on, man. You can't let your team get fucking clowned every game.
Yeah, it's bad. It's a bad impression, though.
Yeah, I think just, if we kept, Bay and Stewart, I think that's a good thing. But going to OKC at 17, they get a player that I think fits their team much fucking better, and I think this would help this player's career as well. Denny Avdia,
a person that Poku.
Most of us had Denny in box, top 5?
Yeah.
I'd probably say most of us did.
I
still remember on draft night, we're all sitting here looking, and we're all just like, Denny's still falling.
Denny's falling. Halliburton's falling. What is going on?
Yeah, and then obviously we get to, he's taken by the Wizards, and we're like, oh, because I think by that point was when they did the Westbrook trade. We're like, no, come on, man, no, not Denny.
Scotty Brooks is ruined his rookie year. He told Denny to shut up and stand in the corner because his white European player was hurt in Davis Bertans, so he had to get a new guy to shut up and stand in the corner. Turns out that's not Denny's game. For anybody who was watching at home, knew that. But you know what? Your coach is Scott Brooks, so fuck you guys. That's kind of where we're at. Another man who shouldn't have a coaching job next year, but because Russell Westbrook carried their sorry ass to the playoffs, he will. Denny would thrive in OKC. He would be Poku on steroids. Like the amount of glowing, admiration for the growth of Pokusevski this season, and watching him become a much better basketball player, and the upside, the fun games, the moments he created, Denny would have had those. And I think he would have been electric.
Yeah, I think Denny would have thrived much better. But moving on to 18 and 19, and let's even lump in 20 just to get us through this. The Mavericks taking Desmond Bane at 18, the Pistons taking Devin Vassell at 19, and the Miami Heat still taking Precious Achiuwa at 20. I'm honestly happy with all 3 of these. Obviously, I think Vassell, is really, that kind of gives us a much better defensive presence on the perimeter, mostly because if anyone's watched the Pistons this year, we don't play defense on the perimeter. We also don't defend people at the rim.
I was going to say,
get past one person, we
really don't play much
happens.
defense at all.
It's if Plumlee's in the game, it's free reign. Just go at him. If Jahlil Okafor's in the game, literally just pump fake him and he'll jump. And
you're right.
Hell, you can just walk past Wayne Ellington on the perimeter. To be honest,
remember when he was a 3D player?
Yeah, those were better days.
He tried on defense at one point in his career. Got him paid a little bit. But Vassell would be amazing for you guys. And the only reason he's this low on this board is because people did not get to watch him play enough. Because they were so focused on the Spurs. Were so focused on that, we're going to still contend. We don't want to give our young guys too much playing time because that would be ridiculous. Right, Pop? Devin actually got more playing time than I think a lot of people expected because rookie. And it was like Pop's hand was forced because of the G League situation. He's great. He's going to be great. He already has an amazing defensive capability to cover multiple positions, switchable. His shot's solid still. I mean, they translated 100%. So I expect him to take over a much larger role this upcoming year. And I think that had he gone to Detroit, you guys would have fucking loved him. And Bane, I mean, NBA ready product, day one. The Mavericks. If the Mavericks got Brunson late and then Bane in this draft, they'd be
that'd be a scary team.
What happened to Josh Green? Fucking nothing. Josh Green doesn't even exist.
Just for context, just so people know, obviously their season's not officially finished, but he finished the regular season, Desmond Bane at least, finished the regular season shooting 43% from 3 in his rookie year.
On volume, too.
That is fucking terrifying. Like, obviously, mind you, like, obviously, we talked about Steve Bay being a sniper. He moved into the top 3 all time for, rookie 3-pointers made this season.
Yep.
But, like, he's still only shooting, like, 38%. Like, he's still making most of them when he takes them. But, like, with Bane, that's essentially just like you see him open, it's like, all right, guys, fuck it. Just go start playing. Just start going down the court. It's in.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. And his numbers could have been much gaudier had he not played on a team where his shots were being taken away by players like Grayson Allen, by players like Jalen Brooks. They really got a lot of guys in that same role or similar role. So it felt like his shots were just kind of like whatever was left. He wasn't greedy with it. And even D'Anthony Melton, who one of the best kept secret in the NBA, fantastic year off the bench for them as well. Like they just had a really solid wing, like guard wing core. So I think that him going to the Dallas Mavericks, where there would be a wide allotment of shots available, he would probably be shooting about 45% from three. If he was getting passes from Luka, it would be disgusting. Yes.
Yeah, that'd be terrifying. And then obviously with Precious, Precious is just still kind of here.
Yeah, I'm gonna just shrug at that one. That works.
Yeah, like he's still got upside. Like he'll play a couple of minutes, but not too many.
You know what? I had to scroll down to see his name. Kmart Jr. Kenyon Martin Jr. would have been incredible. So much further up this board. I'm just gonna spoil it. They had him at 25. For me, he probably would be somewhere right around Jaden McDaniels, maybe 11, somewhere in that range. As far as my current big board for this class right now, like I think he's someone who I get it. He's playing on an intentionally tanking Rockets team, so he was getting a lot more looks and touches and opportunities than a lot of these other guys. But good fucking God, you can't tell me that he got slept on in this draft. He was taken so far down in the second round. People were laughing that they actually went for him because, like, he should be undrafted. He's only getting in on his daddy's recognition. Like, this is not a guy who earned a spot at the NBA. He's an uber athletic talent, and guess what? He has just busted his ass and worked his way through more than anyone expected. He finished the season on such a strong note. In the last couple of weeks, he's putting up like 17, 7, and like 2 on really good shooting splits. I mean, really good shooting splits. I think he's someone who this is completely ignorant to that fact. So I would have him, like I said, I would have him right around 10, 11, 12. But if he was available to the Miami Heat at 20, they would love Kmart Jr. Could you imagine him next to Bam?
It'd be terrifying. And also then even just with another center prospect they have still in the first round, obviously, down a little farther, Xavier Tillman. Obviously, Don't be wrong. I'm not going to act like I fucking hit like a gem. Obviously, Tillman's been Tillman. He hasn't been, he hasn't been phenomenal, but he hasn't been bad. He's just been, he's there. I think he could be a person that, like, obviously probably doesn't play super huge minutes, mostly because they already do kind of have the center of the future for that team in Bam. But, like, a guy who can come off the bench, play defense, get rebounds, it's really all you need him to do.
He can still pass the ball, not as well as Bam, but he's a decent facilitator for the 6'10" guy.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that would have been a good option as well. But also, I don't really hate the idea of Precious going there.
No, yeah, I mean, we saw what he could do this year and where his limitations are. Is he playoff ready? We're about to find out. I think there's definitely a lot of holes in his game, but they knew that coming in. He's a raw talent. He's an athlete. He's a fucking brick shithouse. But he's bouncy. So he's an exciting player for them. I think that it's the Miami Heat. You could put anyone on this list on the Miami Heat and I'm like, yeah, that's going to work out pretty well for him.
Yeah.
Jalen Smith on the Miami Heat would work out pretty well for him, I bet.
True. All right, so moving into 21 through 25, they have the Philadelphia 76ers taking Malachi Flynn. Denver Nuggets at 22 taking Aaron Nesmith. 23, a person that definitely has fallen quite a bit, Obi Toppin. 24, Denver Nuggets also taking Kira Lewis Jr. And at 25, the New York Knicks taking Kmart Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, Kmart, like, this is essentially just them being like, hey, so the Knicks get a steal again at the end of the draft anyways, so we're just repeating the fucking thing again.
Yeah, I mean this would be the Knicks just absolutely massacring the draft for. I mean, good for them, but I'm confused on if this man's ever actually like watched Kmart Jr. play because they got him listed as shooting guard, and I'm like, you didn't watch the Rockets play, did you?
True.
I'm him with the did you even watch, bro?
Yeah.
That's unfortunately
I don't
where my
remember who
opinion
posted the
ends.
article, but man, they really got hit with the
I'm looking
fucking.
up Wasserman, which I'll be honest, I'm a little disappointed. A little
I'm trying
disappointed.
just put some of the other names like. I mean, I don't like. I still don't like Obi Toppin's fit on the Timberwolves. I thought that at the beginning of the year
Yeah,
too. Like I was not like I was an anti Obi fan, but it
I
was more
was.
of like a. It was like I thought people were overrating him. Like yes, he could score in college, but like Jimmer Fredette could too, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Of like
If you
it
looked
was
at
more
his
or less just
threes,
he's an athlete.
he had a 6 foot fucking ring with no one around him. He could knock down a 3 pointer. Sure. Where's that happen in the NBA? Never. Did he know how to play defense? Nope. Guess what? Your coach loves defense. That's an unfortunate coincidence. I mean, he's just yeah, trying to find a nice. He's like I don't have a great comp for him. I want to find a way to make Obi Toppin successful, but I'm like, I mean, you could have had him on a bad team and he might played well. It could be similar to Wiseman in that respects. Like, had he gotten minutes, like legitimate minutes, and just got to play it out, sure. Put him on the Rockets, put him on the Thunder. One of those teams probably would have done okay. Shit,
Yeah,
even the Cavs.
man,
That's
honestly.
actually a question I want to ask you. Yeah, because the Cavs had a top pick and they had the opportunity to take him. Would you, looking back on this, and I know big board is obviously it's laughable to I talk about this. We're talking about a guy who they're redrafting at 23, but do you think that he would be someone who they should have considered more at the top of this draft class over someone like Coro, who is a defensive guy with offensive upside potentially?
See, I still personally would go with Okoro because as much as I don't like him, the main problem with this Cavs team is that there's a massive gap defensively. And
Yeah.
obviously, Sexton has shown he's pretty good at defense. He tries.
Mm.
Garland's not the greatest defender. He once again no tries.
Yep. They both did try this year, which was nice. There was a massive leap by Garland. But yeah, both of them definitely somewhere between turnstile and chair.
Yeah, and I think it's just bringing in someone like Kokoro who could be that like guarding the best player every night, like maybe not shutting them down completely, but at least being that guy who's disrupting them,
Mm-hmm.
getting them focused, keeping them at least somewhat contained. I think is something useful for that team. And I think it's just to me, Obi was a person I just honestly thought he was gonna fall no matter what. I didn't like. I honestly thought he would have fallen past the Knicks because I honestly thought Knicks were taking a point guard. I think everyone
Yep.
thought they were. Like when Halliburton was still there, we're all like, "Oh, so it's Hallie, right?" Like we're about to see Hallie in New York, and they're like, "Oh, we top," and it's like, "Oh yes, of course, you guys fucked up once again."
Yeah.
But I think it's just I thought Obi was gonna fall, and it's just because of the fact of like, yes, he can dunk, he's an athlete. Congratulations. That doesn't mean you're gonna succeed in the NBA because we've seen freak athletes be not that fucking good in the NBA.
But he got the roll or the rub from Zion Williamson. That's what happened. It's 100% what happened. That's the only reason he got drafted so highly is they went, well, Zion was this bouncy, athletic ball of muscle. And Obi Toppin, while he was older, there was still that thought that, I mean, if Zion can do this shit, like Obi, I mean, just think a slightly worse Zion, who's a little taller. That sounds great on paper. Turns out there's a
Yeah.
bigger gap between them than.
It also turns out one of those guys being shaped like a fucking bowling ball probably does help a little bit.
Yeah, that will make it difficult to stop him.
Yeah. And just kind of the like I with the Sixers, it's just kind of like okay, cool, you guys got another good point guard.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't have too much to say about it. And
No.
then with the Nuggets picks, I just kind of look at it. I'm like, okay, cool. So these are two more guys who aren't really going to play this year. Like, wouldn't really play. And the only reason I think that is just because the fact of like that point guard depth on that team is like the fact that
Well, Murray
obviously,
got hurt, so he would actually have played.
yeah,
Like both these
but
guys,
it's
I think,
also,
would have played for Denver.
I don't think they would have played extensive minutes because before the Murray injury, we didn't even see Monte Morris play for a while
No, he
because we
did.
just saw, but he was sharing
He got
heavy
hurt.
minutes with Campazzo.
Yeah, that's because
No, I'm
Monty
talking
got
about
hurt.
yeah, but you know what I mean. It's
No.
essentially if they drafted Kira Lewis Jr., I don't think he would get minutes over either of those two. I think he would be the
I don't
guy
know if
who's
they
getting
signed
2-3.
Paco.
Yeah, I mean,
I
who
think
knows?
that's the question: is if Campazzo gets signed because they had gotten Kyra Lewis Jr. here. That would have been actually a great question. I think they still probably would have gone for Campazzo because veteran. This is a playoff-ready team. We can't depend on, a 19-year-old quick first step kind of guy. Let's take the crafty veteran. So you're probably right on that one. Actually, I take it back. You are right there. Neesmith would have had a shot though. They were hurting for shooters out there for a while.
Yeah, and obviously, this team doesn't really play super good defense anyway. So him being a turnstile, they could just let him walk that off, as long as he's hitting shots.
Yep.
And moving into the last four, unless I'm counting wrong. Yep, it's the last four. 26 through 30. They have the Celtics taking Xavier Tillman, Utah Jazz taking Theo Maledon, the Minnesota Timberwolves taking Paul Reed, 29, Peyton Pritchard going to the Toronto Raptors, and at 30, the Memphis Grizzlies taking Jaji Jarchel.
Thank you for putting that on there, putting the Jays on the board. Yeah, no, he's overlooked some people in this draft, and that's fine. It's egregious, sure. Theo Maledon being there, 27, I think, hilarious looking back on. But yeah, sure, the Jazz would love to have him. I think I think the minutes he would get some, but not many still. Worked out for him getting all the minutes in OKC. So that one you probably wouldn't find out for a while. How good he will be. Paul Reed, bit of a meme, bit real. I don't know what to believe because Jake, he is the Paul Reed stan. B-Ball Paul. He is a DePaul guy, so I got to rep that too. T-Wolves with his defense, sure. We got to see what Jaden McDaniels could do when he fell here. And I think that Paul Reed would be pretty well lined up to succeed because he would have the opportunities to play. Fast PP Raptors, absolutely. That's a no-brainer with their season. He would have had a really good year there as well. Najee Marshall.
That literally just is a.
He must be just higher than I am. NBA rookie. I gotta look at the B-ball reference for this one real quick and just be like, who are we missing out of this? Jalen Smith's the obvious egregious one.
I'm trying to think it's just other players, obviously
Green's outside of here. That. Technically, Jayshawn Tate wasn't eligible for the draft because he'd come out, gone overseas, done that whole process. So he was a free agent signing, I believe.
Green fell out of the first round, but to be fair, Green didn't really do anything this
year.
Green
didn't play. He didn't get the minutes, which I don't know if we're reading into that correctly. I think that one's kind of interesting as far as is he worthy of the first round? Is he worthy of the first round pick A? He was a raw talent. He was a wing with great measurables. He was taken as a gym shorts kind of guy, not necessarily the product on tape. I think Jalen Harris, Jay Scrub are both guys. Jay Scrub had a game, so never mind.
There's also Saban Lee. I'm just got to put the Pistons.
Yes, Saban Lee is first round talent. Jordan Nwora is first round talent. That's the one that pisses me off the most because I was so high on Jordan Nwora. It drove me absolutely fucking crazy that so many teams passed up on him. He's a walking goddamn bucket. He was our winner from last night when I was talking about Jake and I were kind of going all in on the idea of who are the players who have the best showings when given minutes. And it's always going to be a limited scale, so it'll be a little precautious as far as, these stats come with asterisks. But let me pull it up. I have it here in my conversation with Jake. Jordan Nwora in his 3 games where he got minutes, over 30 minutes, he just happened to shoot 52, 50, 60 from the field on 20 shots a game. Fucking volume. high volume, incredible efficiency score. Yeah, he's not going to pass you the ball, but that's okay because he's shooting 50-50. What the fuck, people? Why are we not paying any attention to this guy who walked into the second round because I don't know, he was one of the best scorers in college, but people just shit on him because he doesn't play the style of basketball we really like. You know, he's just a great wing scorer. Don't need any of those in the NBA, right, guys?
Yeah.
Oh,
Who needs those type of guys?
that one pissed me off so much. He was the name I was looking for with the like, we gotta just right here, people. You know, you gotta give a shout out to Ricky for his boy, Nico Mannion. I mean, would he have been a first rounder for you?
No.
No, neither for you. Isaiah Joe, probably first rounder with his shooting splits.
Like very low, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking 25 to 30 range. I think that's kind of like who are the guys who could slip in, because outside of that, I think like we just didn't see so many guys in this class get like great opportunities, but in the short minutes they had, you got to extrapolate a little bit, you know? We even got to see Davidas Servitas play for your Pistons for a game.
He's okay.
He has hands.
I mean, he's on the court. That's about as.
He attended the basketball game.
I mean, that's more than you can ask some people.
Yeah, I think that wraps that up.
Yeah. All right, that's gonna end today's show. Thank you guys so much for stopping in. Tomorrow's show, I believe, if I remember correctly, let me pull up the schedule so I don't get this wrong. You know, so I don't sound like an absolute goofball again. Tomorrow's show, it is Ricky and Jake talking some baseball. You know, they're talking about hitting some balls with some bats. But as well, if you guys would like to join the Discord, type !Discord into Twitch chat. There you'll get a link, or you can go to the YouTube description. There you can find one as well. If you'd like to support us at a monetary value, go to patreon.com/MVPvids. You can join one of the 4 tiers if you wish to do that. Obviously, if you don't want to, you are not required to. If you would like to watch us live on Twitch for the last week that we're here, it is twitch.tv/MVPvids. Once again, we are moving to YouTube full time in the 24th. So, obviously, you know, if you're a sub, you know, slowly start thinking about, you know, becoming a channel member. I'm not sure if we have them set up yet. I haven't really checked the channel just yet. But hopefully by the time we start, it is set up. Check us out at youtube.com/MVPsports. There you can find past shows, Wet Boys, and just former live streams as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys next time.
WPN.